Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I am your host, Eric Smith, and today I am talking about Black Sheep by Rachel Harrison, and this is from Berkeley. There's their big B. All right. Black Sheep is the story of Vesper Wright. She is the one telling us this story. It's in first person. She is 23, almost 24, and right before she turned 18, she left her family and her community. They lived on a farm. It was a very religious community, and she did not believe in their religion, and so she left and essentially is supposed to be excommunicated, but now she's received an invitation to a wedding. And so she's going to return to the New Jersey farm where this religious community resides, and we're going to see what happens. And that's the nutshell. And this is going to be a difficult book to talk about. I don't feel I can really talk about the plot at all because there is some crazy stuff that happens in this book, and I don't want to give anything away. First of all, for the too long didn't watch folks, I gave this 5 out of 5. Now, it is about something that I love, one of my favorite subgenres in horror. So that may have kicked it up a notch, but this is a very well written, very interesting book. And Vesper Wright is an interesting character. I'm not a huge fan of her character, but I think that's the way it's meant to be. When we first meet her, I think I can talk a little bit about this. When we first meet her, she is working at a restaurant, basically like an Applebee's kind of place. It's called Shorty's, but Applebee's, TGI Fridays, Shenanigans. You know the type of place I'm talking about. And so we meet her and we get to know her a bit and how other people see her. And like one of the short order cooks calls her Your Highness, and I can see where people would have that attitude of her. And we learn her background. We learn about her growing up in this community and how she was treated as special. Because she's part of this community. Oh, and her mother is a scream queen, a very famous actress in horror movies, and that has a lot to do with Vesper's personality. And I can say, excuse me, I can say that Vesper's childhood home is essentially a shrine to horror movies. It's filled. I want this house. It is filled with props and memorabilia and all these things from Vesper's mother's movies, and she has embraced the spooky aesthetic. It talks the plates are black with spider patterns on them, and the glasses are black with skeleton patterns on them, and everything has a horror theme to it. The cutting board is a Ouija board. Absolutely love that house. I want it for myself. So while I'm not 100% behind Vesper as a character, I believe that's the point, and she is a well written character. And Rachel Harrison, I'd like to say I'm a fan, although I've only so far read her first book, The Return, when that came out. I read it, I've reviewed it, I really liked it. I have all of her other novels. I don't have her short story collection, which is called, let's just take a quick look, Bad Dolls. But I have The Return, Cackle, Such Sharp Teeth, and Black Sheep. And I enjoy her writing style. It's very, very. I always want to say things that I'm afraid are going to come off as negative when I mean them as positive. She has very breezy, easy breezy writing style. We're not getting bogged down in unnecessary detail. And I mean, this is a 23-year-old that's telling us the story. And so it feels like a 23-year-old is telling us this story. Not in a bad way. It could have gone horribly, horribly wrong. Thank God this isn't like Juno. I cannot stand the way the characters in Juno talk or behave or anything. None of that kind of stuff going on. So it's not an annoying 23-year-old, but it is still a 23-year-old young person who's telling us this story. And some of the things that happen, uh, oh, there's so many twists and turns and reveals and things going on that uh, happen at unexpected times, and there's this escalation, and there are a lot of things that I did not expect to happen. There were things from very early on that I assumed, for lack of a better way to put it, I guessed. And I don't know if we're supposed to have guessed that early on, but I think we are, because what happens is not predicated on whether or not we figured out certain things. And it definitely builds to some wild shit. Um, so I'm being so incredibly vague on the plot because I do not want to give anything away. This is something that, like, the tiniest thing I say could spoil things, and I think you need to go into this as blind as possible. My YouTube bestie, Kaylee Dobbs, talks about not reading synopses and different things, and because she likes to go in not knowing anything, which I think as a professional reviewer, someone who receives copies of things to review, one can do that because you've been sent that book to review. You didn't pick it yourself. Plus, with her favorite authors and with mine, if my favorite author has a new book out, or one of my favorite authors, I don't need to know what it's about. I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to read it. But I do read I read the inside flap of this to see what it was about. I have started the habit of any books that I've had for a while, pretty much any book now, when I pick it up to read it, I do not reread the inside flap or the back cover. So there are books I've had for a long time that I haven't read yet. And if I'm going to pick them up and read them, I'm not going to jump in and read that synopsis. I don't remember where I was going with this. Talking about going in blind. So I don't think the inside flap of this one actually gives anything away. But if you trust me, or if you trust Rachel Harrison, I'd say don't even read the inside flap. Just go into this completely knowing as little as possible. And speaking of Kaylee Dobbs, the whole reason I read this book at the time that I did is because I had finished what I was reading. I could not decide what to read next. Actually, I hadn't finished what I was reading yet, but I was getting close. And I didn't know what I was going to read next. And Kaylee Dobbs of Happy Goat Horror released an unboxing video of the Abominable, I believe, horror box that she gets, and the paperback copy of Black Sheep. Spoilers, I guess, was one of the books inside the Abominable box. And it's just one of those things. She's showing off the books that she got. One of them was Black Sheep, and I just said, all right, fine. That's what I'll read next. And I'm so glad I did. So thank you to Kaylee Dobbs. 5 out of 5 stars. I loved this book. Again, a subgenre that's pretty close. Probably my second favorite after Killer Animals. But Black Sheep, Rachel Harrison, 5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. Highly, highly recommend it. Check it out. Question for this video. Really don't know that I want to ask one because, again, don't want to give anything away. So how about this? Do you read the back cover? Do you read the inside flap? As I said, if it's an author I know and love, I'm going to pick the book up. It doesn't matter. I'll typically still read it, but I don't have to. You know, if Brian Keene's got a new book out, I don't need to know what it's about. I'm going to pick it up and read it. But I don't have enough money to just be spending it willy-nilly. So generally, if I'm at the bookstore and something catches my eye, if I'm online and something catches my eye, I'm going to read the synopsis of the book. I need to know something before I lay my money down and pick it up. Excuse me. And some books, I mean, if I'm completely in the dark about the author, I've never read this person before, I don't know anything about them, I haven't heard a lot about a book, I'll even start reading a sample chapter on Amazon. So I do read the back cover copy, the inside flap, generally before I decide if I'm gonna pick up a book. I had a sister who said that she didn't read the back cover copy or the inside flap because she thought basically anything was a spoiler. I've talked about this before. We were talking about Doctor Who, and I just mentioned a character's name, and she yelled at me, called it a spoiler because now she knows there's going to be a character with that name. So yeah, she would not read. She tried to avoid any knowledge of anything she was going to read ahead of time. But what about you? Do you even care about spoilers? Do you avoid as much knowledge of pre-knowledge of a story before you get into it? Let me know in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning, especially for this book. We try to be polite here at the Low Budget Review Show. Please like, share, and subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff. And if you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is @Ronan5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, and fuzzy animals, is ErikSmith5757. That's Erik with a K, ERIKSMITH5757. And if you're on Blue Sky, I am @ELSmith. That's all I've got. This has been the Low Budget Review Show. I have been Erik Smith, and until next time, read more books.